I'm happy to move on with the next panel. This, in my opinion, is one of the most exciting topics that have been discussed these days. Yesterday evening, I saw that a lot of foreigners here were very much interested in the Alatau City project. So after having the presentation yesterday from the CEO of the Alatau City, today we will be discussing all the interesting possibilities and challenges that arise with such a project. And we'll be having different sides of the discussion: legal, research, business, crypto exchange, and obviously local innovation, financial, institutional point of view. So I'm happy to introduce the moderator of the discussion, Nikhil Vadgama, co-founder of the Exponential Science Foundation, co-founder of the UK Center for Blockchain Technologies, who will be moderating the panel about the crypto Alatau City. Welcome on stage Massimo Morini, Talzhibek, Mukhanbetkaliyeva, Nurkhat Kushimov, and Bakyt Smekenov.
Thank you everyone for joining us this morning on this panel. We have this morning on Alatau, Crypto City and Kazakhstan's digital future. Great, so we have a full panel now. So my name is Nikhil Vadgama. I'm going to be the moderator of our wonderful panelists for the next hour. And we're going to be spending this time thinking about a question that is simultaneously about urban development, monetary infrastructure, and regulatory design. Alatau City is being positioned as a testbed for digital assets in Kazakhstan. And we're going to spend this time really understanding what does that mean in practice, and what does it mean when it's working. Okay, and we're going to be exploring this and also what the future of Kazakhstan's digital technology implementation is with respect to Alatau City and blockchain ecosystems itself. So if I can ask each of you, and I'll go in order, to give me to introduce yourselves, and then to give kind of what Alatau City briefly means from your particular vantage point. So if I start with you, Bakyt, the NBK is the monetary authority, of course, and what is its role in enabling a trusted and investor-friendly financial and crypto fiat ecosystem in the Alatau City?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bakyt Smekenov. I'm Deputy Head of Division of Innovations and Crypto Assets in NBK. NBK expect Alatau City to develop as a crypto city that integrated TradFi, CBDCs with crypto asset industry, with DeFi and with real assets tokenization sphere. We believe Alatau City developed as a large-scale experimental testing ground where advanced financial solutions and crypto fiat solutions piloted and subsequently scaled across Kazakhstan to accelerate country's digital financial transformation. And also NBK really support this vision within our mandate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bak. Moving on, Talzhibek, you're building the institution from the inside. In one sentence, may I ask you, what is Alatau City's core value proposition for a digital asset company deciding where to headquarter?
Hello everyone, thank you for your question. So basically, Alatau City is a unique opportunity to build a new economic model where entrepreneurial ideas can be tested, included into the real life economy and scaled. So we're looking for entrepreneurs, people with diverse technology and innovative background, to change the way traditional economy, society operates, and not only test it, but scale it up, and not only in Kazakhstan, but in the region and in the world.
Fantastic. Thank you for that introduction. Massimo, if I may, you're an academic. You're studying digital financial systems at a research level. In terms of your understanding, what's the most interesting thing you've seen so far about Alatau City from an academic or design perspective?
It's certainly exciting from the point of view of testing empirically, what can be the effect of technological innovation, to see a city which is really designed, that becomes a city which is mixed with an urban infrastructure, in a sense that allows to direct, and in a sense also just to the economy also to self-direct through economic innovation. And in this sense, this is related to what we have been doing in Lugano at a different scale, but we will probably talk about that later.
Fantastic. And finally, moving on to Nurkhat. I mean, Binance, is operating globally, has navigated many different regulatory environments across many different jurisdictions. Why Kazakhstan? Why Alatau City? Why now?
Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Nurkhat. I am head of Binance Kazakhstan here. Spent a lot of time before working as a regulator as well. So this and yesterday topics are very close to my heart. So welcome everyone to this building and to this session. I think what is important for Binance is generally its predictability of regulatory framework. I think this is one of the core, tests that Binance considers before moving into any jurisdiction. And I think this is important for many businesses. So if I look at from the business perspective, generally I think the kind of crypto area and tokenization, generally blockchain is one of the most fastest development financial part of the industry today. If you look at the numbers, I think there are several estimations. One from kind of city, which I believe more conservative, that, for example, tokenization will in 2030 will be around 5 to 8 trillion USD. If you look at BCG, I think they kind of more ambitious in terms of their projection. It's around, I think, 16 trillion tenge USD. So if you look at that numbers, you definitely, the country want to embrace it. And I think for Kazakhstan, Alatau City is a project which try to kind of capture that development and put it in the real world, because kind of there is investment part of crypto industry or blockchain industry, but I think what is important is to put it into real world use, and for that you need, as you said, urban infrastructure, kind of development projects, and multiple real world use cases. So I think Alatau City is one of these, but to develop it correctly and win in a kind of in a competition not only within the country but also on a global stage, I think we need to see a really high level of commitment to uphold consistency and predictability of a regulatory framework. So I think it needs to be built for centuries or for decades at least. So the companies, when they will invest into what is now just land, they need to have that projection for many years ahead.
Thank you very much for that. So we've just heard some initial thoughts on Alatau City from all of the panelists. The next round of questions is going to focus more around, the city's vision, its mandate, and its government. And we're going to start off with the basics, right, to make sure we're all on the same page. Because I think perhaps, people in this room may not be still fully clear about the structure of Alatau City, because Alatau City is not the AIFC, it's not the ARDFM. It is a city whose status has been fixed by constitutional law. Talzhibek, if I can start with you, can you explain the governance model? Who set up the city? Who runs it? What decisions does the authority make independently? What requires a sign-off from national institutions? If you can give us a bit of flavor on that.
So, as you mentioned, the city has been established by the constitutional law. It's a city with accelerated development, as we call it. It operates under a special legal regime. So, basically, we have several governing bodies. The council, the highest body, the members are appointed by the president. And there's Alatau City Authority, which is a special management organization. So basically everything related to development and management of the city is performed by the authority under the special legal regime. It has powers starting from registration of the residents and companies to issuing authorizations, licenses, permits, setting up special testing regimes. And also there will be local Akimat and Maslihat, but they will be mostly responsible for those items, basically serving social purposes like education and healthcare, and the rest of the projects will be managed by the authority, and they will be working under one-stop shop principle. So everything will be digitalized under the principle of digital primacy. So everything that requires coordination with the national mainland authorities with regard to national security, monetary policy, of course it will be agreed with them. But there is a freedom to set the regulation with regard to entrepreneurial activity.
And if I may ask, what does the process look like operationally if a company wants to go and set up and operate there?
At the moment, we're drafting the legislation, but it will be, as I mentioned, it will be paperless, so digitalized and one-stop shop. So. We will be, setting up the smart city with all these processes that will be speeding up everything. The details will be represented in the regulatory documents that are to follow.
Okay. Fantastic, thank you. Moving on to you, Bakyt. Talking again about the National Bank of Kazakhstan, acting as the primary regulator for the national digital financial infrastructure and onshore crypto fiat ecosystem. How does the MBK engage, or how is it going to engage with activities inside Alatau City? Is the formal legislative framework, is there going to be this formal legislative framework that is codifying this particular coordination mechanism and institutional collaboration? Could you give us some more insight on that?
MBK is formally embedded in Alatau's governance framework through constitutional law on the special regulatory regime Alatau, which requires coordination with NBKs on key regulations related digital assets circulation, related financial services, financial and crypto fiat infrastructure. This coordinating mechanism makes possible and makes it cross-jurisdictional the opportunity to harmonize of regulatory framework and pilot regimes. It's a good opportunity. In the case, role is coordinating all under law regulatory acts related digital assets and financial services.
Thank you very much for that. And again, now talking as an operator, Nurkhat, I have it in my notes here that you've been through the setup process in Alatau City. Is that correct? Was it too? Yes. No, not yet. Yeah. So these notes are not. Well, these notes are projecting something that should be happening in the future. But I mean, from an operational perspective of what you've heard from Talzhibek about, how the system is going to be operating to operationalize within the city itself, from your particular perspective, I mean, and based on your experience in Binance's experience in other jurisdictions, what's going to be something that makes it relatively, from your perspective, pain-free and attractive for the process to get set up in Alatau City itself?
I think I mentioned already first kind of prerequisite, stability and, kind of consistency of regulation. It doesn't need to be too lenient or, too liberal, but it does need to be consistent and it does need to be predictable. So no shocks, no surprises from the regulatory point of view. But this is not the kind of the full picture. The next, I think, the kind of most important, the second most important point for any jurisdiction to build an attractive space for companies is infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, it means like kind of possibility to integrate with a traditional finance area. For example, at the AIFC, when AIFC started, it took us kind of a difficult path to build these bridges between crypto industry and traditional finance industry. One example is kind of fiat integration. You need to have on-ramp, off-ramp solutions across the industry and available for the whole industry, not just for select players. And it's difficult to build because it requires coordination, as you had the question to NBK. It requires a lot of coordination between regulators, mutual trust, mutual understanding, and which then need to be kind of signaled or kind of made obvious for the whole industry. Then banks start to work with the crypto industry, of course, based on their own risk appetite. Second point is kind of, I always make that example as well. If we want to have more people kind of get into that industry and to use that, because there are a lot of useful cases of blockchain technology and crypto industry. But to get people to select that instruments, you need to have trusted partners. And today, trusted partners are brokers and banks or your kind of asset managers. So you need to allow those kind of players as well to be part of the industry and to kind of work with crypto industry on understandable regulation, understandable rules. I believe that took us a long time to develop here in Kazakhstan. It was not an easy journey for everyone, but I think now we are in a good shape. I think for my hope for Alatau City that we will take it further. By saying that, I mean that, for example, we could build something like a crypto crediting to buy a property. Just one example. But that's a very complex exercise which need to allow banks to, from prudential point of view, to take on their balance sheet some crypto pledgers, then work technologically with us as a crypto players how to kind of honor that mortgages and pledgers, etc. And so that will be a complex project, but that actually is infrastructure building. Another point is payments. I think what's one of the progressive part of the crypto today is the payments, stable coins and payments. If you look at the Binance, we have 45 million people who using Binance Pay today, and we have 20 million merchants on our platform. And I think the kind of last numbers was around 250 billion USD transaction volume only on the pay side, not trading, not investment, on the pay side. So this is a huge potential, but again, that requires a lot of infrastructure. We just did one integration recently with Alatau City Bank. The name is not coincidence. We have kind of great plans for Alatau City Bank and Alatau City generally. And we provided the infrastructure for QR payment. So any person who has a Binance app could use a QR payment in tenge, local currency, and pay any goods in Kazakhstan using Alatau City Bank infrastructure. But again, that was a kind of difficult, lengthy, complex project, both from regulatory perspective, required a lot of engagement with NBK, with other regulators, but also kind of very significant infrastructure project from technological perspective. So my point is that if the jurisdiction or country wants to win the race, very competitive race, it needs to have a big focus on infrastructure building. Otherwise, kind of it won't be that attractive for the businesses.
That's fantastic, thank you. And we've jumped into the next section as well on important infrastructure in Alatau itself, but we'll come back to that. I just want to finish off this first round on kind of, you know, the mandate and governance of Alatau City by coming to you, Massimo, and asking you, you know, a little bit about any work you've done and looking at other special economic zones in the world. You've got, for example, you know, the Abu Dhabi global market, the ADGM, Bermuda, Wyoming, etc. I mean, we've got the case of Lugano as well as a city, as an area, which with the canton of Ticino also having its own particular policies to attract companies to come there itself. I mean, in your opinion, what do you think these particular case studies, and also in the example of Lugano, are important design features that make, you know, having a special economic zone or an area one that ends up succeeding rather than one that ends up just becoming regulatory decoration?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and I have experience of different realities. You know, for example, I'm now leading digital economy at ADIA Lab, and we are in ADGM in Abu Dhabi, and I'm dealing with research, particularly in economy, also in Lugano and in the Plan B Foundation that is very involved with the building of the infrastructure. And I think that regulation in this area is very important. We cannot say that that is not, because if you look at my research, you know, on decentralized finance or tokenization, often one obstacle is the fact that when regulation imagines or is built on a different kind of world, it becomes very hard to show the advantage of technological innovation or business model innovation. So, for example, if you look at the situation of Lugano, versus Alatau, you realize that there is a difference in scale in two different directions. You know. In a sense, it's interesting that while Lugano is looking at a relatively small city, this city at the same time sits in the middle of a very strong and large economy and financial ecosystem, the one of Switzerland, but extends also to the one of northern Italy or southern Germany. You know, of the opposite, Alatau is thought as a much larger project with a larger national relevance. However, the ecosystem around is not definitely so much definitory for the project. So there are analogies and different challenges, you know, under many points of view. I think that one fundamental element of design that was important for the success of Lugano is that Lugano started from the usage, in a sense, from the use case. The infrastructure came with the use case. You know, that I think was very important. There was a problem to solve, very specific. It was the time of COVID. It was also a desire to strengthen the local economy, and the infrastructure came with that, you know, and the different bits came with that, you know, the digital currency, the blockchain infrastructure, but that immediately mixed with the economic policies that the local authorities, the municipalities wanted to implement. And this is very important, because otherwise the risk is that you build a little bit too abstract structure from a regulatory point of view or from a technological point of view. I think that Alatau has got an incredible opportunity, and my impression, even only based on this morning, beside all the things I knew already, you are moving very well, you know, and I really like when you talk about a regulation, to think of a regulation that thinks of the issues of the digital world before thinking of the traditional issues of traditional finance. That's very hard, you know, because it's clear that you need, as some of us were saying, you need TradFi, you know, to support you. Everyone needs also the presence of TradFi. But at the same time, if you keep thinking, okay, things are done like this. I don't know. I mean, I could make different example. You know, you have to create maybe a central security depository. You maybe have to think of how to regulate the issuance of assets. Maybe you know, registry for assets. If you start thinking, you know, first of all, I need to have high-level traditional solutions, and then thinking of their extension to digital, maybe you are not exploiting fully, you know, the opportunity that you have in Alatau. So as much as possible, I think that there is an incredible opportunity in this country, and there is, I think, also the skills and the resources to really trying to do something that looks first at the future, you know, rather than the past, which is obviously not easy. But I think this is one fundamental opportunity here.
Thank you, Massimo. And it brings us nicely onto, you know, both you and Nurkhat have been talking a bit about the infrastructure aspects as well. Staying with you, Massimo, on this, just in the case of Lugano itself, what was the most kind of important kind of infrastructure that was needed to kind of get the Lugano token project off the ground and in place?
Well, it's very hard in this case, and probably not even correct to pick out one specific thing, you know, because probably the surprise that was in part in the design, but in part was also surprise, was the interaction that existed, you know, between an blockchain infrastructure, but also the My Lugano app that in the end became the interface between citizen and the new urban infrastructure, and a vision about, you know, the kind of multi-dimensional ways in which this infrastructure could have been used, first of all from the public administration, and then also by private players. And then there were elements that, while potentially not being central to this infrastructure, had a very important effect. For example, the fact of deciding to use the infrastructure also to open up to crypto payments, to stable coin payments, was in a sense, if you want, a side project compared to the original goal. But it had got an enormous power of announcement, of message, because it showed that we had the courage, actually, think we were in a jurisdiction that, while federal, did not give control, about having spatial regulations, only up to a point. But there were things, that the municipality could do. There will be a great presentation this afternoon also with Simona here that represents the municipality. And there was the courage, the decision to say, for example, the public administration will accept crypto, will accept stablecoin. I don't know if you can imagine how much this open up the city to new user, but particularly new ideas, new entrepreneurs. It became a hub automatically because of this choice. And so even this signal effect can be very important at the time. It's worth to be bold. That's what I think I've learned from the experience of Lugano.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And coming back, to this idea of Alatau City as being a test bed that, of course, does require infrastructure itself, right? Infrastructure for data, infrastructure for having live systems in place. Coming to you, Bakyt, specifically with regards to the MBK, are you thinking about Alatau City being used as a test environment at the moment for any particular payment or crypto fiat infrastructure that you could tell us about?
Yeah, sure. In MBK regulatory sandbox, participants from crypto market and the financial industry testing and evaluated new crypto fiat payment solutions under real market conditions before potential deployment in mainland. Bright cross-jurisdictional example is pilot project in MBK's sandbox between Binance Kazakhstan and Alatau City Bank. Mr. Nurkhat mentioned about this pilot project. This pilot project allows customer to do pay with crypto assets through crypto QR and online payment channels. This pilot project, great example for cross-jurisdictional cooperation and collaboration between between participants from mainland and different economic zones. This pilot project creating seamless bridge between crypto asset industry and traditional payment infrastructure.
Thank you very much for that, Bakyt. Talzhibek, as well, from your perspective, can you tell us, what's going to be happening in the roadmap for the next 12 months in terms of infrastructure development as well in Alatau City?
So one of the principles in the constitutional law that I mentioned is that private capital comes first. So we assume that the basic, the basic level infrastructure will be provided by the government, but the rest, which relates to business opportunities, to some technology opportunities, will be built jointly through PPP mechanisms with private partners, and this, driving the development by the private businesses will actually accelerate the growth, because it will not be driven by the government, but by the businesses who understand the needs, can forecast, and basically implement it. And also, I just wanted to reflect what you mentioned, what Nurkhat mentioned, the stability and predictability of the legislation, and what you mentioned about the starting from the usage. I think all of this all together combined will allow, building the proper infrastructure in place, which will be usable, and the regulatory framework will be stable and predictable, and of course, flexible, taking into account, innovations.
Great, thank you. And Nurkhat, you've already talked a little bit about, the kind of the infrastructure you think is going to be necessary, if Binance is operating in the city and so forth. I mean, what's the most? Can you say what is the most important thing? I know Massimo said, we can't isolate one thing in by itself, but do you agree with that, or is there kind of, these are the top things I need?
Yeah, I think I agree actually with the point that there are no one kind of piece that is crucial. Kind of the jurisdiction building, and with Talzhibek we had this experience before at the AIFC. It's a difficult project because you can't build it based on just one point. It needs to be home for many different projects, for many different ideas, and you need to build it the way that actually satisfies a lot of different options. And I believe in Kazakhstan it's even more challenging and complex, not because it's underdeveloped or bad, because it's, I believe, at least in the financial industry, payment industry, I would say it's too developed. And users, clients, population is too spoiled with all the services, infrastructure, and everything already built. And that's why it's so difficult to find sometimes use cases. For example, we have together with NBK the challenge with KZT, stable coins, because digital tenge, not CDBC, but just digital form of KZT is so well developed. There is no issues of using KZT electronically here. I probably myself forget when I last time had the cash in my hands. I pay everything with QR cards and transfers. I don't need cash at all, from taxi to groceries to all the payments, everything done digitally. And actually, there is no joke in Kazakhstan that you can get married online. This is absolutely true and correct. You can buy property online. Recently, I sold my car and bought another one. It took me 1-2 minutes to transfer the deed and everything and receive the plate. So it's too developed. And that's why for companies like us, it's very challenging to operate because, as I said, the standards and expectations are too high on one hand. Then the second challenge comes that Kazakhstan itself is relatively mid-sized economy. It's not huge, so you kind of, again, for global companies, you're always mindful of investment versus kind of return on the investments, and with that size economy, it's also a very challenging decisions. That's why, and for Alatau City, for example, I think one of the way for us to look at that is to look for new opportunities and look for new business models, new opportunities in terms of the growth. And I believe that kind of one major point will be export, financial industry export opportunities. As Kazakhstan, we never looked at the financial industry from export point of view. Kind of, we exported a lot of raw materials, energy, etc. But as a country, we didn't export too much of our financial services. And I think as a country, we have huge potential to export financial services. I think it's even bigger than oil and gas and other raw materials because it's very well developed. So for myself, particular kind of how I look at the Alatau City and what I want that kind of how I want that to be developed, that we try to use it as a launch pad for export opportunities, to look at the region as the first goal, but then beyond the region and kind of expansion. So I would say that kind of from my point of view and my angle, that that jurisdiction will be a very good kind of point that we will take that to the next level in terms of the financial industry export opportunities. And I think I echo the Lugano experience here. It's quite similar in terms of the regional and, you know, European, being in the center of Europe. For us, it's being in the center of Asia, gives us the similar edge, small economy, or small own economy, and a huge potential around us.
Fantastic, thank you for that. I mean, it's really, really interesting. You mentioned that actually, you know, that the expectations are too high, which makes it challenging in a sense to kind of, you know, operate in the jurisdiction. I mean, coming from the United Kingdom, I mean, it's kind of alien that we can do something in 1 or 2 minutes in terms of trying to sell a car, or it's I would be, you know, that's kind of what we expect from technology companies giving us solutions on using apps, right? But from government services to have something like that is absolutely
in Kazakhstan, if you go on plane, if you go to a kind of domestic plane, you don't need any documents with you. You drive a car, you don't need any documents with you. Everything fully digital. So kind of that's the expectation from the population. And it's very challenging to work with such high expectations.
And keeping on that theme, I mean, the last part of this panel is about, you know, talking more broadly about Kazakhstan's digital future and what's coming. What do you think is important in the next kind of 18 months? But on this particular theme of having, you know, the infrastructure so well developed in this kind of, in this way, what do you think is Nurkhat, to stay with you, what would you say to the regulators, I suppose, to trying to help you with this? Or is this something that, you know, Binance as a company just needs to step up to?
I think as a company, we have a very big focus on Kazakhstan, and we're trying to be very helpful and, you know, to kind of to build the products and everything which give value to the population, to our users, and to the country itself. From the regulatory point of view, it's not a critique. Regulators are in Kazakhstan amazing, you know. We work across with everyone, all the regulators. And I think what just the next challenge and the next focus need to be is take it further. We already built a very good regulatory framework and infrastructure for fiat, crypto fiat on-ramp, off-ramp solutions. Now, NBK this year built a kind of an extra layer on stable coins, payments, tokenization. And I think we need to take it for the next step to have great integration between TradFi and blockchain technologies in terms of the banks and brokers and other financial TradFi institutions becoming blockchain native. I gave already example like having a mortgage or credit kind of on a crypto pledge and vice versa. I think we need to inbuild crypto and a prudential regulation kind of in a more visible way. So I think that will be a thought level. Kind of when I say that not in Kazakhstan, people kind of, I think, very surprised, because a lot of countries and a lot of jurisdiction on a level 1. And but in Kazakhstan, I think what we want to have is that level 3 discussion, and I believe that what we will going to have in the next kind of several months because they're layer 2 already under the implementation. I gave you example that we're already doing a pay integration with banks, and we will continue to do that. So I think that from the regulatory point of view is done. So next is the kind of even more cohesion and more integration with the traditional financial industry. And again, back to Alatau City is I think where we want to see that prop tech and TradFi and crypto industry merge together, where we could have property finance through crypto and serviced by traditional bank. So that sorts of cases, I think that's what is on the agenda now.
Thank you. Coming back to you, talking about the fact that in the next 18 months or in the future, looking at kind of Kazakhstan's own regulatory position, how do you see that in kind of the global crypto regimes that have been that are present? Do you see Kazakhstan moving for more global harmonization or keeping its own views on how crypto should be regulated going forward?
The main risk for regulatory fragmentation is that crypto asset activity easily migrate to least regulated countries, and this creating regulatory fragmentation between countries, creating opportunities, regulatory arbitrage, and increasing risk for crypto investors, risk for consumer protection and financial stability. However, in BK already seeing a gradual convergence regulatory approaches across major jurisdiction, and driven by work with international standards and international bodies such as IOSCO, FATF, Financial Stability Board, BIS, and BK. I believe next stage of crypto regulation is greater institutionalization and more stronger cross-jurisdiction coordination, as well as introduction crypto asset regulatory reporting framework is another significant milestone for standardization approaches for tax approaches across jurisdiction tax transparency.
Thank you, Bek. And Talzhibek, again, the next kind of 18 months, we've talked a bit about infrastructure and things, and you mentioned that basic infrastructure will be provided by the government, and then you're expecting public partnership to be the way that investment is coming. What about also the people, right? I mean, you want to attract the top talent that other jurisdictions have done. Engineers, researchers, academics, founders indeed, who are going to be building this particular ecosystem. Have you got any particular, can you talk to us a little bit about the plans you have for that part of Alatau City?
Yes, with regard to this, almost like 20 years ago, I did my master's dissertation, and I was examining how the cities become financial centers. And one of the studies showed that when a person, chooses a location for a living, they do not only go for some particular field of legislation or regulation. So they choose a city as a whole. And because we are building a city, which goes beyond financial regulation, financial markets, there will be a great opportunity, to use smart technologies for almost every aspect of human existence in an urban development. So for this, I think this will be a huge, important aspect to consider for those talented individuals to come and to live and to test and integrate into real life their thoughts. And we think that more and more entrepreneurial minds will use this opportunity, and actually we're looking forward to it.
Great. And finally, Massimo, to you, you work also with the Plan B Foundation, which is at the intersection of Bitcoin, digital assets, and financial infrastructure. From your perspective, what is, do you think, the single most underestimated risk in the creation of the digital asset ecosystem in Kazakhstan and Alatau City that you can draw on from your experience?
It's another good question and deep question. However, I still think that today the biggest risk is still the one of being behind rather than being too much forward. For example, and in a sense, it's relaxing, compared to the buzz that we always hear. But we have mentioned AI surprisingly little, in this panel. Usually the word surfaces much more often. So under this point of view, that's an advantage. But I'm thinking, that when we think of smart city, or when we think of digital finance, when we thought of smart contracts and so on, we were thinking in a sense of an increased form of automation in our financial system that obviously creates risks, and also provides new tools for managing them, for example. And now there's element of automation obviously gets the full meaning from what we're seeing happening with AI agents. I think this is news of today about ChatGPT allowing you, an agent, to access your bank accounts. I do think that the biggest risk is, for example, not considering that blockchain technology or smart contracts will have to interact with AI, and they can both improve each other, in the sense that AI can make the access to blockchain technology much easier, and can make blockchain technology much more clever than it may have appeared. At the same time, blockchain technology, smart contracts, set some rails into the behavior of systems that often is exactly what is missing and what is too dangerous with the way we are treating AI today. And there is also a level of traceability in front of the obscurity, in a sense, of how AI proceeds. So I think that being on the cutting edge of technology, and also of how you think of regulations and infrastructure, is still the way to go, and the biggest risk is to run in big risk for fear of risk. I don't know what it means, but maybe if you understand the rest of what I said, what I say is, not missing the pieces of technology that also help us into protecting from the risk that innovation always entails.
Thank you for that. Before I go to the panel, to close off with one final remark on Alatau City that you would like to share with the particular audience. Does the audience have any questions that they would like to any members to ask to any members of our panel? If you don't, it's also okay, because we're a bit behind time. But if there are no questions, if I may ask for each of you, please starting from you, Bakyt, any closing remarks that you have to share with the audience about Alatau City?
My closing remarks, one sentence is Alatau is icebreaker. It's a platform for testing advanced new digital and crypto fiat solutions and for scale successful innovations across in Kazakhstan, in mainland.
Yep. I think kind of, it's never too many good projects. So for Kazakhstan, we have kind of very developed mainland, as we call it, mainland jurisdiction, which is kind of codified regulatory framework, etc. We did build AIFC, common law, principle-based, risk-based regulation, which is, from my point of view, highly successful, and it is home for Binance Kazakhstan today. And now we started to create, as a country, Alatau City, which is, I believe, another great project. And I think will repeat myself, but it gives the different choices and opportunities. So the same company could have different opportunities in different jurisdictions, but another company could just have a greater menu of options which are more suitable for their business model, for their business case. And as for the country, just important point is just we keep that companies at home, we capture the opportunities kind of with the global trends by providing these different options and different jurisdiction which should suit kind of as a whole should suit any business which wants to operate, from Kazakhstan.
To finalize, Alatau City is a gateway, and now is a great time to join. So we welcome the businesses and ideas and opinions and entrepreneurs. So please welcome.
Yeah, I also like the idea of Alatau as a gateway, or also, if we want, as a bridge, as a crossroad, particularly of one of the big issues that we have in digital finance now, making sure that there is a solid bridge between the digital finance and the real-world assets. I think that Kazakhstan, in particular Alatau, have a unique opportunities to become a solid bridge between real asset and the digital version. If this promise is maintained, I'm sure that investors and activities will come here very rapidly.
So let me thank each of the panelists for your views on Alatau City and Kazakhstan's digital future. And if you please join me in thanking the panel for their views. Thank you very much.